If you are listening to this late at night, alone with the lights turned down low, that is exactly how this story should be heard. What happened in rural Alabama in 1973 did not arrive with fireworks or a dramatic announcement. It did not explode into view. It appeared quietly, it stood motionless, and then it left. It walked away, leaving behind photographs, unanswered questions, and a lingering unease that has not faded in more than 50 years. This is the account of the Falkville Metal Man, one of the strangest humanoid encounters recorded in the United States. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your home's poltergeist will thank you. The figure looked less like an animal and less like a conventional human being, resembling instead something constructed, something that did not belong to the natural world as we understand it. A small town, a quiet night. On October 17, 1973, Falkville, Alabama was a small town the way small towns used to be, quiet and rural, a place where most people knew their neighbors and nothing very out of the ordinary ever happened.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name.
It was the kind of place that felt distant from the ceaseless noise of larger cities, where life moved at a slower pace, and the night was a blanket rather than a stage. That is why, when a local police chief received a report of a strange figure walking along Highway 33, it felt all the more surreal to those who heard it. Jeff Greenhaw was the town police chief. He took the call, gathered his camera, and drove out to investigate. He was doing what any responsible officer would do when someone reported a potential hazard along a rural road. He did not know then that a single decision would change his life and that of the community around him.
Oh, thank God! Officer, it just came down out by Old Miller Road. Big as a house, lights everywhere. Please, you gotta go.
Slow down, ma'am. What are you seeing?
I don't know, it's not a plane.
Stay put. Keep your lights off.
The figure at the roadside, as Greenhaw drove down the dark highway, his headlights swept across the shoulders and trees. Suddenly, his lights fell on a figure standing just off the road.
Hey there. You all right?
First glance, it looked like a man. On second glance, it did not. The shape was humanoid and roughly the size of an adult human male, but its posture and stillness were wrong. It stood rigidly, unnaturally immobile, as if waiting. The surface of its body reflected the car headlights in a dull, metallic way. It was not shiny like polished chrome, but more like brushed metal, industrial in appearance. Greenhaw later described the figure as wearing a metallic suit, seamless and tight with no visible zippers, buttons, or seams. There was no breathing apparatus, no exposed skin. The suit fit so closely that it suggested the figure was encased rather than clothed. And above the suit, there was a head, but it did not look like a human face. A face without features. Where human faces have eyes, a nose, and a mouth, this face offered darkness and reflective planes. Eye sockets were replaced by flat, black reflective areas. There was no mouth, no nostrils, no expression. The head was smooth and metallic, suggesting a face without actually having one. It resembled a manufactured helmet of some unknown purpose, not something created to conceal a human layer beneath. It was not a Halloween mask or a theatrical prop. The impression was of something purpose-built. Greenhaw raised his camera and took photographs, several of them, as the figure remained still and unresponsive. There was no flinching, no attempt to hide, no reaction to the warning presence of headlights and a patrol car. Then, without any apparent cue, the figure began to move. A walk that did not match a human pattern. The metal man turned and walked away from the road into the line of trees. Its gait was stiff and mechanical, with a regularity to the steps that suggested artificial control rather than organic movement. It was not jerky or broken, not the motion of a malfunctioning machine, but it was not fluid either. It moved as though it had learned human locomotion by studying people from a distance, imitating the steps, but missing subtle, natural qualities. Greenhaw followed briefly in his car, but the figure disappeared into the wooded area, leaving no sound of crashing brush and no broken branches.
Almost got you! Come on, move! Move! No! Ah, you're kidding me!
It seemed to be absorbed by the dark, as if the night had accepted it. There was no chase, no dramatic confrontation, and no clear resolution. The Metal Man simply walked away, leaving a single witness who had photographs and a memory that would not let him go. Photographs that changed everything. What distinguishes the Falkville encounter from many other reports of strange humanoids is that Greenhaw took photographs. When the film was developed, the images matched his description. The photos were grainy in the manner of early 1970s film, but clear enough to show a reflective, humanoid figure standing at the roadside. The figure appeared seamless and unnatural, as the witness had claimed. Skeptics immediately suggested a hoax, that someone had donned a metallic costume to pull a prank, or that Greenhaw himself staged the photographs for attention. But many questions remained. If it had been a person in costume, why would they stand perfectly still by a rural road at night and then walk into the woods and never be seen again? No costume of the kind described was ever found, and no one came forward to confess. The suit appeared seamless in a way difficult to replicate with 1970s materials, and there was no indication of breathing apparatus, skin, or internal structure consistent with a human wearing a suit. Consequences for the witness. When the story reached the media, Greenhaw did not find support. Instead, he encountered ridicule, intense questioning, and pressure that eventually affected his career. Officially, the reasons given for his dismissal as police chief were unrelated to the encounter. Unofficially, the timing suggested a connection. In a small town, mysteries can be unwelcome, and social and professional consequences can follow those who attract unwanted attention. Greenhaw never recanted his claim. He stood by his testimony for years, maintaining that he had seen something real and that the photographs were genuine. Despite ridicule and professional setbacks, his account endured, and the photographs circulated among researchers and enthusiasts of unexplained phenomena, theories that struggle to fit. Over the decades, the Falkville Metal Man has invited a range of explanations, yet none fits comfortably. Some have speculated it was an experimental suit developed by a government agency such as NASA or a military contractor. There are strong arguments against this idea, including the lack of documentation, the improbability of testing such a suit by sending an individual to wander a public highway at night, and the unusual design that does not match known prototypes from that era. Other theories suggest a person in a costume, perhaps as a prank or publicity stunt. Yet no matching costume surfaced, no witness admitted to participation, and the behavior of the figure, standing motionless, then moving into the woods without noise, does not align well with human limitations. The materials and seamless appearance do not correspond to common costume construction techniques available in the early 1970s. A third idea is that the figure was a robot or a mechanical probe. This too is problematic. There is no documentation of such technology being left in rural Alabama without follow-up. A mechanical entity would likely have been noisy, created visible wear on the foliage as it moved, and left traces, all of which were absent. Some researchers turned to more speculative explanations. Perhaps the figure was a probe or scout sent ahead of something larger. Perhaps it was interdimensional in nature, a brief intrusion from another reality. Those ideas cannot be proven or disproven with the available evidence, but they reflect the discomfort felt by many who study the case because the figure does not conform to familiar categories. A case without drama, but with presence. What makes the Falkville Metal Man especially unsettling is not violence or spectacle, but presence. It stood there, unremarkable and yet out of place, silent and watchful. It gave no message, offered no threat, and left no trace beyond photographs and a single human memory. This lack of drama deepens the mystery because it raises questions without answers. Why was it there? What was it looking for? Was it observing human activity or scanning the environment for something else entirely? The story has a quiet, persistent quality that is hard to explain away. Many sightings and encounters fit into a pattern of dramatic events or repeatable phenomena. The Metal Man appears to be a one-off, a single brief occurrence that has no obvious motive and no follow-up. That alone unsettles investigators and the public because it suggests a capacity for stealth, for appearing and disappearing from common view without being tracked or cataloged. What we still do not know. Despite the passage of decades, several essentials remain uncertain. There is no definitive explanation for the metallic appearance and the seamless suit, and no identification of materials or construction. The lack of physical traces in the wooded area where the figure walked into the trees is puzzling. There are no convincing records of a person who could have produced such a costume and staged the event for publicity. There is no credible evidence of a machine or prototype that matches the figure in design or behavior. There is one irrefutable fact, however. On a quiet autumn night in 1973, an individual who was a law enforcement officer saw something that did not match ordinary experience. He took photographs. He told others what he saw. He accepted consequences rather than recant. Those elements alone make the case noteworthy to anyone interested in unexplained phenomena, and they have kept the story alive. Why it still matters. The Falkville encounter matters because it challenges our assumptions about what we know and what we can explain. Some cases of unusual sightings result in clear evidence that can be validated or debunked. This case resists both validation and debunking, leaving a gap in understanding that encourages curiosity and caution in equal measure. It reminds us that not every unexplained occurrence resolves neatly into existing categories. Sometimes an event remains a puzzle, and the puzzle itself is the point. It also matters on a human level. The encounter changed a man's life. It left him exposed to ridicule and professional setbacks. It left a town with a small but stubborn mystery. It serves as a measure of how communities react when confronted by something outside their normal experience. And it shows how witnesses of unusual phenomena are often treated by others, even when they stand by their observations. Possible paths. Forward. Resolving the Falkville mystery fully would likely require new evidence, or perhaps the discovery of records or testimony that have not yet come to light. Advances in materials analysis and the preservation of historical documents could offer fresh angles if any physical artifacts or archival materials are found. Oral histories and local memory sometimes reveal overlooked details decades later. Researchers who continue to examine the case look for corroborating accounts, additional photographs, or documentation that might explain the figure as a known technology or an elaborate hoax. Until such evidence appears, the case remains open, and the photographs and testimony continue to be studied by both skeptics and those inclined to believe in unexplained phenomena. A final thought for night drivers. In the end, the Metal Man's legacy is simple and unsettling. It tells us that the world may hold quiet mysteries, things that pass through our nights without fanfare and without immediate reason. It reminds us that absence of evidence is not necessarily evidence of absence, and that some encounters leave only questions and an image on film. The Metal Man did not threaten, did not announce itself, and did not stay. It walked away and left a scene that looked normal again, except for the memory and the pictures. So the next time you are driving alone at night on a quiet stretch of road with trees closing in on both sides, take a second look at the shadows. Be aware, but not alarmed. If you see something standing there, motionless and reflective, do not assume it is human. Remember the Falkville Metal Man and the way it moved through a small town's night, a brief presence that has not been explained and perhaps never will be.
Destination nowhere, a half a mile to paradise. Tell me what you find there, beyond the sea of gold disguise. 3-dimensional rainbows right before your eyes. Draw the shades and watch these wool unwind, and see right through those confidential phone calls. A distant wine in Saint-Tropez. Soon your prize of freedom will fall, conspiring